Welcome to those 90s Teachers podcast with Tasia and Zara, where we are currently taking up space in the education arena in different parts of the world.
Throughout this journey, you will learn about being a teacher in today's society as we share personal stories and life experiences in the classroom.
Girl, back with another episode.
Back at it again.
Yes. I feel like I haven't talked to you in like forever.
I know. I feel like this is like the biggest break that we've had in a minute, but it's a good thing because we're both enjoying our summer vacation right now.
Yeah, and I saw that you went to the Beyonce concert.
Yes. Oh my God. Queen Bee has done it again, folks. If you have not purchased your tickets for a Renaissance tour, I don't know what you are doing right now. She is iconic.
Wow. The last I went to a Beyonce concert in 2016. I think it was the Formation tour,
Yes.
and it was like the best time I ever had. It was so
I'm
fun.
I'm telling you, Beyonce is one of the greatest performers of our time right now, for sure.
Yeah.
From visuals to vocals to dancing to everything, the ambiance, the fashion. Killed it. And I know you went to Mexico for your birthday. Tell us
Yes, I
about
went
that.
had so much fun. We went to first we went to Cancun, and we
Yeah.
had like a really nice condo like right off the water. We stayed in the Airbnb. It was so nice. And honestly, everything was around us. So as soon as you went downstairs, well, I stayed downstairs, but you go downstairs in the condo and you turn right and there's like so many things to do, like a mall, restaurants,
Mhm.
everything. Like we didn't have to go honestly anywhere. So then after we stayed like 5 days in Cancun, we took like a 2 hour taxi to Tulum and
Yeah.
stayed in another place.
Mhm.
And Tulum was definitely a vibe. I think that there's a lot of like young black people there. Like it was just interesting. I didn't expect like a newly developed city like Tulum to have so many like minority people there, like just living their best life, eating good. It was beautiful to see actually. So
That is incredible, and it's great to see Black people traveling and
mhm.
having that luxury life too. You know what I mean? So it's great representation. I love that. Was the food good?
Girl, it was so good. I think in Mexico they have like a lot of fried things, which is interesting because I kind of see that as like something that you do down south, right? Like a
Yeah.
lot of fried foods.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was a lot of fried foods, really good. They like octopus a lot, and it was actually pretty good. I'm a person that's really open to trying new things. Like
Mhm.
I'll try anything. Like I'll do different foods, even if it looks weird. I'm that person. Like I really will try just about anything once.
Wow, you're brave than me because I'm a person that I cannot do that.
I will try anything at least once.
I love that. What was something new that you tried there that was like, okay, I think I like this?
I think it was the what was it? I think it was the fried octopus. Like
Nice.
I don't like any animal that's not like a salmon or a cod or something like
Yeah.
one that I know that
Yeah.
has regular fins.
Mhm. Stay away
I
from
don't usually touch that. But I'm like, oh, this is different. Okay, I'll try
Mhm.
this. And it was actually pretty good. Like, I actually ordered
Nice.
it for myself when we went to another restaurant because it was seasoned
Mhm.
really well. And it was pretty different. It was
That's
cool.
awesome. So then we were gonna add octopus to
No, but it's just,
just a one-time thing.
it was just something
Mexico.
that for the experience. And
Yeah.
other than that, it's like, I don't think this will be a regular order, but it's
Okay.
something that I did try in Mexico.
Okay. Just have to make it sure for our listeners out here.
Yeah, yeah, that's clear. Yes. So what's something that you've been able to learn this summer so far from about yourself?
I learned that like a person like for me growing up, I thought I was very like I have social anxiety, but now with again being in the influencer world, as you call it, I learned to like open myself up and carry conversations with all kinds of different people. Yeah, so I think that's a big deal. So I recently just went to another like an event with Tim Hortons, which is a coffee shop. It's like the Dunkin' Donuts of Canada. So Tim
Okay.
Hortons is like a big deal. So they invited us to their roastery tour where they like create their coffee and they roast it. And I went with a group of people. There was like 20 influencers, and it was really
Nice.
cool. I got to meet really cool people and like hold conversations and actually like connect with people outside from what I do in real life. So it was such an honor. So yeah, I feel like so my social battery is getting better. So like putting myself more in I would say in situations where I don't know anybody by myself and I'm like getting to know people and make connections. I think that's a new trait that I've unlocked.
You know what? I love that you said that because after Mexico, I went on a solo trip to Boston, and that's really what my main goal was too. Because I, like you, I really believed I had social anxiety also, where I'm like, I can't talk to people, I get nervous speaking to people, or even like sharing like my full self, like how I'm doing right now, was so very difficult for me to do because I feared people like not being accepted by other people. But I think that on the trip that I took by myself, I had to not only align with like who God made me to be and recognize like that as long as I'm accepted and know that I'm accepted by God, like that's all that matters. And I can only be who I am, you know, and whoever likes it, likes it. Whoever doesn't, that's okay, you know?
That part, I feel like as I grow older, and it's what you said, it's like I know now that I'm not for everybody, and that is okay, you know. And I know other people like not everyone's going to be for me either, and that's okay, you know. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, yeah, seriously. And I think also as educators too, sometimes we try to be everything for everybody because we're in a profession where we are called to serve. So we're like, okay, like I need to serve in this way to be accepted by the kids. I need to serve in this way to be accepted by admin. I need to serve in
Yeah.
this way so that my teacher colleagues won't have issues with me. But then what I'm learning too is that conflict is inevitable in anything. And
Yeah.
it's like the ability to be able to actually, even speak your truth. And whether someone accepts it as your truth or not, you know that you did your due diligence in speaking what from your heart.
Yes, I love that. And I feel like, yeah, especially in the teaching community, I think that's so true because your experience on a situation wouldn't be the same experience from another colleague or whether it's admin, you know? And I feel like sometimes it's good to hear other perspectives of the same situation that arises because then you can take accountability, people take accountability, and people's emotions are validated. So I think that's so important.
Yes, I
Mhm.
think so too. So do you want to get into the our topics, our hot topics?
Let's get into this hot topic and this theme that we will be talking about in this episode is about classroom management and behavior. So it's a big topic, and I know that this is not going to be the first time we're going to revisit it, because it's like a big umbrella, right? Because it kind of can be broken down into different scenarios. So take it away with your hot topic.
Right? Got it. Okay. So I was actually sent this video from my coach and my coach and friend, but I saw it a couple months ago and I don't even remember it that clearly, but I'm gonna just show you guys the clip on here. And if you guys are watching on Spotify, I mean I do Spotify video as well. So if you can watch the YouTube video, you can watch it, but we'll also put the link in the bottom of the screen so you can go look at it on Instagram as well. But here is the video. Okay, so look, the caption on here, because I know that it was reversed on the mirror. It says Charlotte, North Carolina, Charlotte Mecklenburg school's teacher suspended after grabbing and cursing at student. And then in the caption, it's from Spiritual World. That's where the video is from. It says Kelly Russell, an art teacher, was on paid leave. As of July 7, 2023, Russell is not listed as teacher on the school website. In the video, you can hear the art teacher accuse Caden of cursing at a girl and trying to fight her. He reportedly punched a girl, an event that was not captured on camera. Russell can be heard yelling at 11-year-old Caden Franklin, while some of the audio is muffled by other kids screaming at the same time. Because he hit a girl, she asked him where has he seen a man hit a woman. The teacher then berates the child and curses at him. Channel 9 spoke with Caden's parents, and they said they're outraged about what happened on Tuesday, February 7th. Courtney Pickett, the boy's mother, said she was horrified by what she saw. You don't need to be in the school system because you don't know how to keep your cool, said Courtney Pickett. A statement from Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools said the district was made aware of the incident. CMS said the teacher is currently suspended with pay. So that's what happened. So when I initially saw it, I was like, okay, this teacher is wild, right? Like, first of all, you put your hands on a kid, that's crazy, right? Cursing at the child, wild. And then, even bringing up like things about the child's home life, crazy. Go ahead, Zara, what were you gonna say?
No, because I was gonna say the same thing to them. Comment like, "Does your dad beat your mom?" I was just like, "Oh no, oh my god!" Like, it is a lot. Like when you watch the video, it kind of is a lot. And then but when you watch the video, there's like one perspective, of course, where you're like, no, this is wrong. But then I went into the comment section, and there were people actually that were defending the teacher. But it's a lot. So I want to hear what you thought about that part. So what are your? Because I know you told me you had like two perspectives.
I did.
Shine a light on us.
Okay. Shine a light on it. All right. So look, so when so like I said, that was my first perspective. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. That's a initially. Then I did read the comments and it made me reflect on my school community, right? The one I previously was at. And I thought about how because let's be honest, there are kids that are deliberately disrespectful.
Yes.
Like there are kids that are deliberately, as much as I am an advocate for kids and even defending them when teachers see them in a certain light.
Yeah.
And even though I do see what they did was wrong, I still try to be like, okay, but can you give the kid grace? I'm that person. But if I wouldn't be like an actual adult person, if I didn't acknowledge that they are kids that are literally deliberately disrespectful and rude.
Mhm.
And the thing is, in the school that I worked at, there would be some kids that would do some heinous things.
Mhm.
And when you bring it up to the attention to the dean or to even the assistant principal, it's like, oh, they're just children. It's okay. Like just take them out the classroom, let them sit there and you know, then have them come back later.
Yeah.
And it's like, this kid just punched somebody in the face. You
Mhm.
want me to have them come back after just one or a couple minutes of them sitting in a room? Did they truly gain true reflection in what they did? You know what I mean? So it's that perspective where sometimes like school communities, they have these kids that misbehave deliberately, continuously, and there are no consequences for the actions. And
Yeah.
even so, I've heard that it's not even the dean's fault, that from the systematic standpoint, nowadays they can't even do anything to children anymore either, to have any consequences either. So
Mhm.
it's like a system where it's like, okay, what the teacher did was wrong, but what really, like, it's just like, what really caused her to be so fed up that
Yeah.
she cursed and pushed the kid back into his seat? So I do think that there is a level of like, okay, you have to be mindful of, how controlling yourself. I totally agree. But it kind of is at the point where like you're poking someone for so long and you're just poking at them and you're like, and then after a while, you're like, do you expect them to just not react after a while?
Right. You're right. I think you hit the nail on the point. And I feel like the bigger issue is the systemic issue of what is happening right now. Why are there so many kids misbehaving in ways that are just not normal? And especially whether it's in the classroom, the school community. Like, I feel like now, and I've been watching videos and I can see from different school communities that I worked in where there are some students that are very like deliberately like it's I feel like it's beyond the teacher's scope, right? Then like there's something that a trained professional in like child psychologists or somebody or like maybe a social worker who probably knows how to deal with kids who are acting out or misbehaving in ways that cause harm to other students and the teachers, you know? Like I worked in there is a school community where a kid a lot like I went to a supply at a school before where I wasn't given a safety plan. So there was a kid in the school that was on a safety plan, but I wasn't made aware of it, right? And kids that are on safety plans are like they're dangerous to other children, but also teachers. Hence why they're put on a safety plan. So they know that it's being flagged. And it tells you what the kids' triggers are and how to like maneuver like or calm down the student or who to call. So I wasn't given one, and then I had a kid. I didn't think I said anything. I just told the kid to put away their phone, and the kid like got really mad and just threw a chair like across the room, and I was just like in utter shock right now because we have 30 plus kids in this room, and what would have happened if that chair hit one of those students? What am I going to go tell that parent, you know? And that's not fair to teachers like me who's like supplying and weren't even given the proper paperwork, or like because now I'm liable, right? Because I'm here like legally I'm liable for all the kids. So what transpired in there, I could be legally liable if a kid were to get hurt. But the issue is I wasn't given the safety plans. And a lot of the times what happens is sometimes, especially when you supply, things just get um like everything just gets mixed up, right? Like people don't give you the proper files for some students. But the issue is when I seen with that teacher is it took me back to that moment with that kid that I had, and I knew like in that moment how I felt. Like I was angry, I wanted to yell at that kid like imagine you hit somebody, like, you know, let them know like what you did is so wrong. But again, it's one of those things that when you're an educator, sometimes you kind of have to reflect and you have to put your own emotions and your feelings aside and still wear that teacher hat, you know? Like even
Mhm.
though my first instinct if I took out my teacher hat, I'd be like, boy, what is wrong with you? Like, you know, and like, are you crazy? You know? But at the moment, I can't do that. I'm in another shock and I kind of have to stay composed. So I kind of understand where the mom is coming from. Yes. Where like, yes, we're teachers. Um, but again, I feel like we have to understand we're human too.
I was gonna say that too. We are human.
We're human. We hurt like you hurt, you know, we make mistakes like you make mistakes, you know. So I feel like the teacher was having a human moment, like, you know, and a lot of the times it sucks, but it's just it sucks because it's captured in video, but like she was having a human moment. And of course it's wrong. Like I'm never going to agree with the teacher putting hands on a student. Like that is so against my teacher philosophy. I like, you know, but she was having a human moment. You know, she saw a male student punch a female student in the face, you know. But we don't even know, maybe that's a trigger for the teacher. Maybe she witnessed physical abuse with their parents or with a loved one that they know. So, you know, so I feel like we kind of have to give ourselves grace and reflect, instead of just like sometimes recording videos and letting it be viral, and then where the world is chiming in now, you know, like cancel culture, you know. So because again, I feel like everyone's human, so I feel like I understood that, like both perspectives from that
Mhm.
video.
Yeah, and I think I learned this too a couple like maybe a year ago. Cancel culture is so toxic because it doesn't allow people to be human. And it kind of goes back to what we talked about the other week about how students dehumanize us. other
Yes.
people dehumanized us. It's
Yep.
like it's so true because in that clip, like if I was shocked to see comments like that because I was expecting people to be like, "Oh, what's wrong with the teacher?"
Yeah.
But but I think that it's because a collective does know the type of generation that is coming up nowadays. Like
Yeah.
it's no surprise that a
Yeah.
lot of these kids, like a lot of them don't really have as like I think when I was growing up, I was raised to have severe respect for authority. That's how I was raised. Like respect your
100%.
mother, respect your grandmother, respect people. But I think like nowadays kids are growing up and I don't know, those values are a little bit lost in translation
No,
somewhere.
I agree. I agree. I feel like because before it's like we're respecting everybody, but now I feel like where people are taking more of like a gentle parenting approach where, or maybe just saying everybody is equal in the world or like showcase your feelings. But like sometimes toxicity is if you're allowing your kid to showcase toxic behavior and there's no consequences and you allow them to act like this in the home and they bring it to school, what do you think is going to happen? You know what I
Right.
mean? So I feel like parents also have to reflect on how they are parenting their kids because teachers, we're not these are not our kids.
No.
These, I feel like that's the thing. A lot of parents sometimes, even like like in my 1 year before when I was teaching, parents would like give me like sometimes would cross boundaries, and like in the email itself it would like kind of hint out, oh, how can like how can like I let so and so do their homework, or like more of a blurred like, oh, at home so and so does this that, and how like can you help me? And I always have to reflect back and let them know professionally, I can't tell you how to parent your child.
Child.
I
Absolutely.
can't, I am not in there in the home with you to make your kid do the homework. Okay. Like these are my rules these are my expectations in the classroom. I can't enforce the parent to enforce the same expectations in the classroom in their home. Right. And let's say if the kid goes back home and the parent doesn't like, it has a whole different like no expectations and let the kid does anything they want. When they come to school, what do you think they're gonna do? They're gonna do nothing because they feel like they don't do it at home. Why is it important for me to do it at school? So I
Yeah.
feel like more and more I feel like parents need to be active in their
Ooh.
have to be active in their child's education. You have to be active, and this isn't just not for like the education academic wise, but also behavior. How is your child? Sometimes you kind of have to ask yourself, how does my child behave in school? Like socially, right? There's kids that that if I ask you to Adrian, if I tell you, oh, give me names of students that show kindness, you can name a few, right? But
Course.
does every kid show kindness?
Oh no.
Like, you know what I mean? So I feel like parents need to understand day to day what their kids are doing. And honestly, if you are a parent and you're struggling, you can always talk to teachers. Teachers, we're here to be a partnership. We're here to collaborate with you, parents. Like we want to build a bridge between us so your child can have the most success in their life of school, their education, and even in life. We don't just teach kids academic, right? We teach them how to be kind, courteous, lead with curiosity, but also be nice to people, right? And respectful. And I feel like that's the thing. A lot of the same values that are being instilled in classrooms are not being transpired or translated into homes. Hence why there are more kids nowadays, especially with social media, that are acting out in complete ways that would be it would not be tolerated like a generation before, for
No,
sure.
no way. I love everything that you just said because it's so true. And I have a lot of imposter syndrome when it comes with talking about parents because I'm not a parent.
Yeah.
And so sometimes like I will deflect and always say, okay, what are the teachers doing? But in reality, like you just said, it a lot of it does come down to parenting, right? Because we are not the kid's parent. We are their school leaders. We lead them, we make sure they get their education, we try to instill good values in them, but we don't go home with them. Like this is a job for us, like let's be honest, like it's our job. They are essentially like just our students. you
Mm,
know? Um, and however their behavior and like yeah, I just thought about this when you were speaking as well. You know how sometimes even as a human, you go in different environments and you act in different ways. It's the same thing with a child, right? When they're away from their parents, how does your kid act when they are not around you, right? And I
mm,
think that's why instilling those essential values in them at home is important so that you know, like, okay, when my kid is with me, he's like this. And also when they're in school or with other people, that they also exhibit those same values that I taught them. And then once you realize, okay, this kid is veering off of what I taught them, then you go back to disciplining them and correcting them and showing them the right way.
mhm.
And this is what I think.
Yeah, no, like I feel like you hit it on the mark. The thing is, like, the first authority figures that kids see are their parents. And if they don't respect the authority of their parents, then how are they going to respect the authority of a teacher or a principal? You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? So that's the issue. So there's a disconnect. And I feel like the disconnect is growing more and more now that kids have access to social media.
Yeah.
There are so many events, like situations that even occurred at the school that I'm at, where kids were cyberbullying other kids. Like, imagine, like, these, I was utterly shocked because when I was reading some of the stuff that the kids were saying, and I'm like, would you say this to
Your
imagine
mom.
your mom? No, no way. Or your dad, or your parent guardian, or your grandma, or your grandpa. No. So what makes you seem that this is a correct way to say this to someone else? Like, it's like such a disconnect. And it's hard for kids to take accountability when the people, when their parents are not taking accountability for their child's actions. I think that's another big issue, especially when it comes to teaching, that I see day in and day out.
Me
Like,
too.
I remember there's like a few kids that in my art class that legit did, like, they literally left my class in the middle of our lesson, opened all the lockers, and then just banged it. Like, it was so bad that all the other teachers came out of the classrooms to be like, what is happening right now? So I remember I had to go phone some parents, and then like 2 out of 3 parents literally chucked it up to it being boys will be boys, and like, oh, okay, like, was not even giving me any, like taking accountability or letting, talking to their child, being like, what did you do today at school? Why are you acting this way? There was none of that. I was like, okay, all right. So if parents
Wow.
are not making their kids or helping them see what they're doing is wrong, then accountability is not. They're not
Means
going to take
nothing.
accountability. That means nothing. I can sit here say anything all day. It doesn't mean nothing. So that's why, going back to that video, I can understand the frustration of that teacher at that moment. She was having a human moment, and I can sympathize with that. Like, I can empathize with that right there. But then again, it sucks because we are the faces of schools. Like, at the end of the
I
day,
know.
we are the faces
We are.
of a board. They have expectations, right? So when they see things like that being showcased, um, that that's wrong.
It's a
You
reflect because it's a reflection on the school community, and that's a
exactly.
huge CMS is actually the public school system in Charlotte. So that's a huge red flag. I mean, because parents are already taking their kids out of public school anyway, and this
Yeah.
is an even more reason for them to do that. But I think going based on our conversation today, it also is important for, parents to pay attention to their children. You know,
Yes.
I think that not only kids are infused by social media, but parents too. Like a lot of,
Yeah.
a lot of our it's a societal thing now
Yeah.
that it distracts a lot of us from what's right in front of us from the
Yeah.
present moment. I'm gonna just say this one quick thing before I let you go on, before we connect our point. But on my train ride to back home from Boston to New
Yeah.
York, I was sitting next to this guy from Switzerland, but he was visiting his family in Boston, and then he was going to New York to then go to California. And we were just talking for a minute, and he said to me, crap. Zara, what were we talking about again?
Oh, we're talking about parents are not taking accountability of their kids' behavior.
What the heck was I gonna say about this man?
What did
I
this mean to you? What was the
what
conversation?
did this man? What did this man say? I don't
What
even
did
know
he
this
say?
man. I don't even know this man. Dang. I don't know. I was gonna say a point, but I
Well, it
totally
had to do with
forgot.
social media too. We were talking about
It
social media
did?
with kids.
Dang. Girl, it just left my brain as if it never happened.
Don't worry. You know what? That happens sometimes. It's called teacher brain.
Yeah, I can't even use that excuse anymore. It's a summer girl. Like,
No, I'm sorry. Like, I am going to try that excuse to the end. Like, the amount of times, like with my dates this week that I got wrong
girl.
was insane. My sister literally, she couldn't even handle me. I was so bad with these dates. Even when I had my
Oh,
schedule
darn.
written down, I was doing horrible.
It's like,
Yeah.
yo, I know my iron's low, but dang, I need to be more on my iron pills. Shit. Anyways, it will probably come up again. But anyways,
Come up,
I
for
met this
sure.
man from Switzerland. We were talking about it definitely had to align with this conversation about parenting. But
Yeah.
I honestly don't remember it all. It'll come back eventually.
It'll come back because we're
It'll come
gonna,
back.
because you know why?
Yeah.
It kind of ties into
Your
uh,
next conversation.
our next conversation, our hot
Yeah.
topic number two. So this basically is an article by USA Today that I stumbled upon, and it's written by Kate Perez, and it's titled "Chinese Kindergarten Teacher Executed After Poisoning Students, Killing One." So, a Chinese kindergarten teacher was executed Thursday for poisoning 25 of her students in 2019, resulting in the death of one child. Wang Yun, 40, was convicted of poisoning her students by adding sodium nitrite to the food being served to them. She had originally received 9 months in prison for deliberate harm for the crime, but the sentencing was then changed and she was sentenced to death in September 2020. A notice posted on the outside of a court in China Friday indicated that Wang had been executed the day before. And here's what we know about the case and execution. So Wang added the sodium nitrate to porridge that was given to the children on March 27, 2019, at Meng Meng Preschool Education, where she was teaching at the time. Wang poisoned the students after an argument with a coworker regarding how the students should be managed. According to the poison control, ingesting nitrate can result in a lack of oxygen, making it hard to breathe, along with confusion, loss of consciousness, seizures, abnormal heart rhythms, and death. The court notice stated that 24 of the students had minor injuries and recovered from the poisoning, but one student died from organ failure in 2020 after being treated for 10 months. This was not the first time Wang had used sodium nitrate. She also poisoned her husband with a toxic substance, who survived with mild injuries, AP reported. Yes. And that is the article.
Oh, nah, we got real dark just now.
Yep.
That's so dark.
Yep. Yep.
Yo.
So when I read that article, I was dumbfounded because first it was a preschool. I worked at a preschool before, so it's like daycare essentially. So it's like usually from 3 to 4, where kids are getting ready to transition into kindergarten. And let me just say, it's chaotic when you have like 15 to 23-year-olds in one room. It can get chaotic, but kids are kids, right? Especially when kids are just finishing toddler stage, getting into preschools and getting ready for kindergarten. Kids don't are still trying to learn what consequences are, right? And how can they regulate their behavior, right? I got a 2-year-old nephew. He goes 0 to 100. He can't regulate his behavior because it feels like if it's not done his way at one point, like let's say if he doesn't get this cookie, he just feels like crying and yelling because that's how he reacts, right? When babies are newborns, the way they communicate is through crying. That's how they give you, that's how parents know that maybe they need their diaper change. Maybe the baby's hungry. So kids are still learning how to communicate. That's just what's happening. So the fact that this lady, rest in peace now, um, is working at a preschool and you decided to poison all the kids, that is attempted murder for me. Like you shouldn't even be around, you shouldn't even be working around kids at that point. This is where it shows that I feel like schools, or like there has to be some sort of mental health check with people who work around kids. Like I feel like it should be like I feel like there needs to be check-ins, because there aren't check-ins on teachers or people who work with kids' is mental health. I feel like that is key, because clearly this woman's mental health was not there.
Well, you said that very eloquently, Zara. That
Mhm.
was That was, that was very eloquently stated because I'm like, okay, I know teachers are human, but that's just plain wicked. Like that's
No,
just
it is wicked,
so wicked.
100%.
No, no, no. Yeah. I know that's not what you were saying, that it wasn't, but I'm just like, dang, that's wild.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're like they should have mental health check-ins, I think that's absolutely positively true because they're so quick to do like a background check and to see
Yeah.
like your criminal history, but like mentally, like, are you good? And not just like a social, like those fake little social emotional check-ins that administration tries to do, but it's more like okay, like maybe like we need to go check in with a therapist every so often, psychotherapist psychoanalyze you for a little bit. I
100%.
don't know how that would look like, but that because my thing is she clearly had some mental issues too, since she used the same thing to poison her husband. So it's like no one caught on, no one saw that, or
That's why I was confused. I was like, how did she did this before prior? How does she even like get the job again of working with kids with that criminal record? Or I don't know if it's a criminal record or not, but like should have been some sort of background check that she did this before. It should have been on her system, like on her file, that she shouldn't be working with kids. She should have not even worked with kids in general.
I'm gonna say one thing. I think that you have to have certain grace to work with children
100%.
because I've learned in this PD when I first was teaching that a child's brain, like our brains don't develop until we're like 25 years old,
Yes.
right? So it's like to have to deal with a toddler whose brain is like a pea, probably, can't even like decipher, doesn't even know why they're crying, has all these fluctuations of emotions and can't even articulate how they're feeling or anything. It's like and then also for a person that like who has not fully healed in them in their own self to deal with a child that cannot formulate sentences and can't express themselves, like you need to have a grace for that because as we are evolving as people as well and our brain is evolving,
Yep.
you're dealing with a child that hasn't even developed anything at all yet. Like you have to have a grace for that.
Yeah, no, like 100%. You nailed it on the head. And she should have never even worked with kids with this background. Like, clearly, this woman was mentally disturbed, or because she already tried to do that to her husband, right? She did it to her husband. And the fact that she was given this job to work around kids, and with that, like, I just want to know, where was the disconnect? Like, who, oh, I had a lot of questions.
Yeah,
Who
like
even
what?
allowed her to work with kids to begin with? Because that's crazy. Oh my God. And I
Yeah.
just like tried to put my feet into the shoes of the parents who actually lost their kid because of this. And that's just like breaks my heart, because I feel like, again, the system or whoever owns this preschool that these kids were attending need to do better due diligence of the people that they hire, because a background check is not enough. And the same thing that I say with this, we were talking about this before, how like just hiring a teacher from just like words is not enough, like
I
of
was
question,
thinking about that too. I was
right?
thinking about that too. Yep.
I feel like you need to see pop up on teachers or where they're actually teaching in a classroom, and see how they are with the students. How do they
Mhm.
teach? How do they interact? How is their communication skills? I feel like that is so important. So, like, this just shows me even more how the system of teaching needs to change on how they hire people for the job.
Absolutely. And it kind of connects to the previous one as well, because I think that there just needs to be diligent observation of what's going on in the classrooms.
Yes.
Like, I think that if, for example, if administration or systematically was more involved, let's say in the classroom, knew the kids for who they really are. And I get that, administration, they have a lot of things to do.
Mhm.
But one thing I did learn from my assistant principal last year was that she made her presence known
Yeah.
more so than my actual principal did, but she made her presence known and the kids knew her, right? The kids knew her. They knew they can come to her office and speak to her when they
Mhm.
needed. And maybe I don't know what toll that took on to her, right? But I
Mhm.
will say that that having a presence and having the kids knowing the kids in the school will be such a good determinant of how to assess the situation because who knows if that teacher went into the class if an ad went into in the classroom where they saw that young boy they knew he had problems with putting
Yeah.
his hands on people they could kind of more so understand or try to stop the situation before it escalated to that level. If someone was to walk into the preschool classroom and see how the teacher would navigate the different children and see kind of because you can always see
Yeah.
how methodical she is, see how she speaks to the kid, then kind of be like, okay, maybe we need to intervention with you to see what's really going on mentally with you. But I think the main issue is that there's not enough observation, and maybe like admin does have a lot of things on their plate. But I think the main core thing is to make sure that you are making your presence known, making sure that you're going in, seeing what really is going on in the school that you're
Mhm.
administrating, and seeing like checking in with people to see how who they are, like
Yes.
literally who they are, who the kids are. I mean, you
Mhm.
can't get to know every single kid, but you can kind of get to know personalities based on like, little conversations here and there and just see what's really going on in the school environment to make
100%.
accurate assessments on things.
I agree. I agree. And I feel like like you connected it so well. And the key is the issue is for me, what I realize is teachers and admin, they're not collaborating on what like routine and expectations look like. Right. Because a teacher's expectations could be one thing. And then again, remember you showed me how like the kid can just come back from the office, like nothing happened, but that's what does that say to a student, right? You're communicating that you can get away with anything at this point. You can get away with murder basically at this point, and you're not going to get any consequences. So I feel like there has to be more of a collaboration and a sit down between teachers, whether it's like monthly check-ins of what behaviors that they realize in the classroom. Maybe admin can come, as you said, in the classroom and observe, and then they come up with a plan. Like, what can we approach to even loop in the parents on their child's behavior, right? Because when a teacher goes a lot, to 9 times out of 10 now, when teachers call home, they're not respected. It's just
Nope.
sucks, right? But when admin calls, they kind of take it seriously because admin is the people, they're the ones who can put down the punishment, right? They can are the ones that are able to suspend kids, expel kids, keep them, so I feel like there has to be a connecting. So it has to be more of a collaboration between teachers, parents, and admin when it comes to the behavior and expectations of kids and procedures in school, especially when it comes to classroom management. And if kids are like very like always just interrupting, the behavior is getting worse and worse and worse, that's when I feel like there has to be more of like a powwow. What can we do? And what now? What does that consequences now look like? Right. So
Mhm.
let's say if I sent the teacher, like a student, because like let's say the video, right? The student punched the girl student on the face, and I told go to the office, and then 5 minutes later, a kid comes back says, "Oh, I'm good." The principal talked to me, and now they get to sit in my classroom. What does that communicate to the teacher, right? Or what does that communicate to the students? That just shows that hey, maybe you can go punch another student, and you go to the office and you come back. There's no consequences. So I feel like it is so important for teachers, admin, and parents to all be on the same page when it comes to child's behaviors, and especially in the school community.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that there's also a caveat, like when it comes to Black students, because because I totally agree. Like everything I was saying is true. Everything you're saying is so true. But when it comes to like Black kids, sometimes I have such a heart, like where it's like sometimes they're the ones that get the consequences, right? They're the ones that get more severe. And even though in the video it was a Black child, but
Mhm.
and in my school it's predominantly Black kids also, but sometimes a specific type of Black child or minority kid that will get consequences, that
Yeah.
will get suspended from the school, that
Mhm.
will get expelled for something that they didn't even do,
Yeah.
right? So it's just so terrible because it's just like, yeah, you give consequences to the kids that you believe don't that can get away with it. But then
Mhm,
there are certain children that you do give consequences to and that are
mhm.
so severe, and they're not even the ones that actually did it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, it's just like such a fine
Mhm.
line
It
between.
is a fine line. That's why I'm saying it would be good if like the principal, the teachers, and the parents all collaborate together, right?
Absolutely.
I feel like with that, then like, and you have documents of like the behavior that is happening. How do we limit that before we even take like how do we approach
Mhm.
this? You know, because I feel like if they're not collaborating together and like let's say principal does their own thing and suspends a kid and they're not being parents are like why are you suspending it and it's not even a good enough reason, that's again what happens, right? So I feel
Mhm.
like it's good for parents, teachers, and principals to come together and collaborate and actually try to find a solution and even loop in the child. Like the child can also sit in these meetings. It's just like an IEP. You know, when you're writing an individual education plan and you have parents involved, you have teachers involved, you have principals involved, you have the student involved. Why can't we do that for behavior as well?
That's so
Right?
true. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Because this the school is supposed to be a community, then it should really bridge everybody in the child's village to make
Yeah.
a solid decision instead of just coming up with something and being like, okay, this is what we're gonna do, instead of involving the parent into it and
Exactly.
having to make a holistic decision.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
That's
get it.
I feel like that approach should be taken. You already do this for IEPs and you see that it works. Why can't we do that for behavior? You know? And
Mhm.
again, yes, it'll be it'll be time consuming and it will take a lot of effort, but isn't the goal better because maybe then you'll have a better classroom community where all students are striving? Right.
Yes.
I feel like it's worth the investment. We all keep saying we're investing in our kids and show
Mm.
us that you are. So we don't have situations like the teacher in the video where she was on her last straw. She had had enough. She's broken by the system clearly, like that you can see, right? That like her teaching hat just went out the window and she was just
Mhm.
human at that moment, right? So I feel like why are we driving teachers away when we can work together?
Yeah. And I've always said this, but I feel like a school community can create so much healing. And I think that the fact that it can, because I mean, a lot of things come up when you see somebody's child and you see how that kid is hurting, you can sometimes see what may be going on in their household.
Yeah.
And the fact that you want to involve like another human, like a teacher that has their own stuff going on that may be triggered by that, right? You have administration that may feel inadequate about their ability to leave. You may have a parent that doesn't know how to deal with the situation because they have their own healing that they have to do in their own household. And you bring that together. And what you're saying is beautiful. You bring them together and you're like, okay, how can we fix this? That literally can bring up so much healing in everybody a part of that conversation. And I think that's really like what I really okay, everything is really like what God intends for us to be in this
Yeah.
world, right? Like to like, okay, like we're addressing like these difficult situations, not just to condemn one person, but
Mhm.
to bring to light all of our issues, all of our struggles, and then bring them to the forefront and heal them together. Because it's not anybody's fault of why the teacher acts like this or why the kid is act this or why the parent does this. They have their own parenting issues. They bring it into the kid does this, the teacher acts like this. But it's like when you're able to have those conversations, those difficult conversations with each other, and then not try to blame or condemn somebody for their actions, but try to understand and come to a full totality of agreement of what's going on, you're able to like break a lot of generational curses, patterns, and just have an actual school community that is
Yes.
healthy and thriving.
That part, honestly, and it makes such a big difference. That's why, like, when I tell people, like when you go to camp, for instance, right? You're bonding with people, right? They see you at your core. You're spending so much time. There, like, there's routine and structure there. People are actually like get to be their own selves with other people for 5 6 days where they feel safe. And I feel like we need to take that feeling when kids go to camp and bring it into the school community. I feel like it's so needed. Kids need to feel heard. They need to feel safe because a lot of the times home life can be hard and that's just the reality. A lot of kids come from homes that are just hard experiences, and a school can be an escape for them. So how can we bridge together where we can make home and school a safe space for everyone involved. Even great place for parents to heal as well, right? Because we
Yes.
just need to have that open dialogue because parents are also like they didn't get a book that tells them how to parent one-on-one, right?
Nope.
Everybody has different experiences. So I feel like that would be a great way of moving or even implementing into schools. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be, but that is what you said is so radical. It shouldn't be radical, but it
Mm,
is because
yeah.
it's because you have to have somebody look at themselves. And
Mm,
I think the hardest thing is to look at yourself and see the good, see the bad, see the things that give yourself grace and all those things. And then still be able to be like, you know what? I can give myself grace in these moments and I can move forward.
yeah,
Like I'm a human, I can work to be better. And that's that. So
exactly.
like what you said, it wasn't radical. What was the word I was looking for? I was looking for revolutionary.
Revolutionary. I'm telling
Yeah,
you it is. And I feel like we need to get there. Because yes, we all know this education system is broken, but how can, if we implement healing spaces for all parties involved, I feel like that would all be like a great place to start with making change.
absolutely. And it's not making a place where like we're consistent like blaming someone for something
No,
or being like, okay, well, this kid is this way. It's like you don't have to characterize them.
no, at
We
all.
can
And I hate
just,
that.
yeah, we can just acknowledge that they're exhibiting this behavior and that it's not okay, you
Yes.
know, and then bringing it to the parent. And, I just really love what you just said. It was so beautifully said.
Yeah. And I hope one day we can get there. I
No,
don't
I believe that we can. I believe
fingers
we
crossed.
can. Yes, we can definitely, even if we create it ourselves.
Yes, honestly, for sure. I'm down.
Exactly.
Let's
Seriously.
revolution.
Seriously, the revolution. Anyways, did you have what do we have? Quote today?
Yes, I do have a quote for the day. Got this, like I was searching through a quote that would be fitting to this. And the quote that I have is when you're saying yes to others, make sure you're not saying no to yourself. And this is firstly for me, because I'm a person where, all the episodes that we talk about how I never put myself first. So it's a reminder to myself that we have demands from our job, especially with teaching. We have demands from our boss, we have demands from the students, we have demands from our parents, we have demands from our family, we have demands from just everything, so it's good to always, and it can be difficult to say no, like maybe you feel bad, and that's how I always feel, but I think it's good to always reflect back and look at what is demanded from us, and is this going to be something that I'm going to be not prioritizing, like maybe family if I do this, or myself if I do this. So it's good to reflect, and we need to create balance in our profession, because 9 times out of 10 teachers don't have a balanced life. It's either one way or the other. So I feel like this quote really reminds all of us, even if you're not a teacher, you're a parent, you work a hard job, or you're invested into your career, it's good to always remember that we need to always put ourselves first.
Mm, I love that quote because one thing that I like heard from God the other day is I'm the person that is like I I will say like I'm a recovering people pleaser,
Mhm.
right? So I consistently want to be there to please other people. But then one thing that I like felt from God was he was like, well, the fact that you are not being your full self, like you're not honoring who I made you to be,
Mhm.
right? So it's like the fact that, and then it's kind of like when you're not honoring yourself, you're not honoring God because it's
Yeah,
like He made you who you're supposed to be. And then instead of being that full self, you are trying to be who everybody else wants you to be. You're trying to not make someone upset because of something you say, but you never know, like, even having those conversations that are hard to have, how you may actually be setting somebody free from something too. And
yeah,
so that's like the main thing that like he's been really getting into me like you have to be your full self because not only are you not honoring yourself and who I called you to be, but you're not honoring me either because
love
you're choosing to be less of who I made you to be.
I love that. That is so beautiful. And that is so true, especially like, again, I feel like all of us kind of have people pleasing in us in a way, whether it's as students and we want to impress our teachers or our professors, or whether it's in a job and we want to impress our boss, you know? So I feel like that is so true. We should never minimize ourselves. Um, and we need to take accountability and always reflecting that moment for putting yourself first, because all systems and worlds are going to abuse your power, you know. So it's always good to always reflect back and create healthy boundaries or voice your opinion when it's needed.
Oh, yes. And my quote is kind of the same. It's something I put on my story last night, that I found. And it says, "Be patient with yourself. Shouting at a flower won't make it bloom." And I really love that quote because I think that sometimes I can be really hard on myself. So let's say like I may have disappointed somebody. I may be like, oh my God, like I'm a terrible person, right? And instead of being like, girl, you made a mistake, you apologize, move on. I would literally sit there and beat myself up, ruminate about it, think about it constantly, like, oh my God, like, how could I mess this up? But then
Yeah.
it's just like being like, you know what, girl, you are allowed to be human too. Just how you give other people grace and in their situations that may have hurt you, you also deserve that same grace for yourself, right? Like just because you may have messed up, you are human, right? You're not going to always meet everybody's expectations, or sometimes you may disappoint somebody else, but at the end of the day, like you have to come back to who you are, right? Who are you? And
Yeah, I
work,
love that.
give yourself grace.
I love that. And that's so true. I feel like just in every aspect, it's always good to always reflect back and be gentle with ourselves, you know? Because I feel like in a world that makes us feel like it hardens us or desensitizes us, and we're very hard on ourselves mentally because we're not living up to the expectations of things that we see or goals of like what we thought we would be at a certain age. No, it's okay. And again, one thing like that in Islam is tawakkul, which means have trust in God. And I feel like once you in Islam practicing that, giving your trust 100% to Allah is such a beautiful concept, right? Everything happens for a reason, and I'm a true believer of that. And once, because it was hard for me, I was a very person who was very anxious and was like, why me, why didn't I get this? But ever since I put all my trust in God, I'm just like, God got me, whatever I do,
Yeah.
goals, as I don't care. At the end of the day, I know God got me. Maybe it's just not my
Mhm.
timing, and I'm okay with it. And I feel like sometimes it's good to remember that, because, like, whether you believe in a religion or you believe in a
Right.
higher power, it's always good to reflect that. You may think you have everything written to a T, but your story is still developing. There's so many
Oh
versions.
God, yes. Oh, that was so good. And I love this. I love how intertwined Christianity and Islam is. Because
Yeah.
like I told you before, I used to
Yeah.
practice. But I love that because it's the same thing in the Bible. It's like trust God. That's it. You just trust God.
Literally.
Trust him. That's all. Um, you have any advice?
Yeah. My advice after the article and the video is, as teachers, you kind of have to literally put your mental health first. Whether if your school community is not doing that, I feel like we have to reflect back and put our mental health as priority, whether that looks like you taking like personal days or personal leave, or maybe just taking time where you feel like you need to distance yourself from the classroom. It's okay, because I feel like you're doing yourself a disservice if your mental health is not doing well and you're being around kids all day. I feel like it can be very triggering because your mental health or mental stability is not there. So in both cases, I definitely say make your mental health a priority and take time for yourself. It's okay. I think that's needed.
Oh, yes, that was amazing advice, Zara. It kind of goes into mine too. Backstory. Okay, I don't remember what that man said in on the train, right? But what I do remember is I was having a very rough day in Boston one day.
Mhm.
And I was just led to call my mom. And me and my mom's relationship has been really growing over the past few years. And so I called her just to talk to her. And I was crying on the phone. I'm in the park, like literally by myself, sitting on a bench, just crying, like had makeup on, smeared on my face, crazy. And so my mom's like, "Why are you crying? Like, it sounds like you're crying. Like, what is going on?" I was like, "Mom, I don't know who I am." And she's like, "What do you mean? Like, you don't know who you are?" I was like, "I don't know who I am. Like, you know, at work they say I'm this. This person says I'm this. Like, who am I?" And then she was like, "Tay, I don't get it. Like, you are who you are, and that's okay." Oh God, I'm getting emotional because that was a very like
No, honestly, and
that
I
was
feel
like a moment.
no, but that's a great moment because I feel like a lot of the times we go through life and we second guess ourselves because people's versions of who they think we are kind of takes over what we thought we were, right? Like
Yeah,
you like, and then you start to believe it because it's just like, am, if people if is this what I put out to the world? Like, am I do I really come across like this? So I completely understand where you're coming from, and thank you for being so vulnerable because a lot of people honestly would not admit that, but that is the truest thing. I feel like we ourselves as humans like to say that what people say about us don't bother us, or sticks and stones won't break my bones, my word.
right,
Like,
exactly.
you know what I mean? But we're human. Words cut. They cut deep, especially
Yeah,
when you feel like you're, whether it's in your career and in life, and you feel like you're accomplishing so much as you did this school year, but to be put down by people's perspectives of you from a negative, like, it hurts. It hurts.
yeah,
It hurts. Like, let's be real. It hurts for sure.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that. But, my mom was just like, "You are who you are." Like, and if she's like, "I don't get it." She's like, I don't understand why you're going through this." She's like, "You are who you are, and that's okay." She's like, "If people accept you, it's fine. If people don't, that's okay too." She's like, "But you just have to have, just a solidified knowledge of who you are and who you've always been." you
Yes.
know and that doesn't mean, and she's like, and be so solidified in that it doesn't matter what someone can say about you. You can
Mhm.
just go back to knowing, like,
Yeah.
no, I get that you felt that way, but that's not it.
Exactly, and
you
I
know
agree. I 100% agree. Like,
and
I had a moment like that too, because like what people have to understand, I don't like when I post or I make social media posts about my outfits or about my students or whatever I'm going through. It's like a digital diary for me. Like, I'm not here to please everybody. And then there's one time like a news outlet took my video. I didn't even know. They just like posted me, and then the comments were like, "But how's your teaching though?" Like, we're just like
I think
coming
I
from
saw
like,
that.
and I that hurt because it's like you don't even know me from anywhere, and I didn't say that because I dress nice, I'm a great teacher. That was not even the pose, but people were just coming for my teaching style or saying that how I wasn't a great teacher. And I'm just like, you don't even know. And that hurt me. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. Like, that staying, I'm like, damn, like people can be so mean on the internet. But then I had to remind myself, is like, I know I'm a great teacher. My students tell me I'm a great teacher all the time. They're like my affirmation stations at this point, like every single day, like buckets of cards and notes that students give to me, right? So I had to reflect back on that and say, these people don't know me from anywhere. So they can say whatever they want, because at the end of the day, I have to know that, well, I am a great teacher. Like, I know
Right.
I am fantastic, or we are the best teachers. Done.
Exactly. That's it. And you already know the way that your students, how they gravitated you towards you, how they're able to talk to you about things, how they're so surprised that you give them grace in certain situations.
A hundred
It's that
percent.
there are other teachers that don't do that and don't
Exactly.
give that same level of knowledge or expertise.
Mhm.
So going back off of, like, what my mom said, I will go kind of connected with what you said. It's like knowing that it's okay to sit by yourself, and also to seek help and support from people that are there for you. Because, even though like my relationship with my mom has grown to where it is now, it's like being like, okay, I'm not okay in this situation. Who do I know that I can just call, and that can, because I think it's important to be reminded of who you are when
Mhm.
you're going through situations that you are just totally like conflicted in your mind about. And I think, knowing that you have a supportive community or supportive person, and just be like, girl, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm feeling like. And they're like, but don't you remember like who you are? Like, this
Mhm.
is who you are. My mom was like, "You are exceptional." She's like, "So it hurts me to see that you're going through this right now."
Mhm.
And that like did so many levels of healing for me in that moment that I'm like, yeah, like how did I forget who I am because I've allowed this person, this person, this person to like have these perceptions about me and I just totally forgot,
Yeah.
you know?
And it happens.
So yeah.
It happens. I feel like check-ins, and sometimes it's okay to be like not okay. Like, it's okay not to,
Yeah.
like, it's normal. We're not always gonna be on a high. And again, as you said, like your mom, like a community, like Natalie that you have, or
Mhm.
with everybody, you need a good support system. It is so needed. And just life, you need a great support system where you can just be authentically you, share your emotions, what you're going through, and just be heard. I feel like it's,
Absolutely.
yeah, and it's healing, and we
Yeah.
all need to heal.
Yes.
All the world needs is a little bit of healing,
Yes,
and we're gonna
exactly.
do this.
It'll be so much better. Seriously. This was
Literally.
a really beautiful episode, Zara. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for the moments.
Thank you for just being vulnerable and just allowing the space to be what it is and just being 100% you. So
Mm,
we, all of us, appreciate that, and we love you.
yeah, we appreciate the same energy because we reflect the same type, even though it's probably like different
Mhm.
personalities, but it's definitely the same energy we vibe
For
with.
sure. For sure. We love it.
Yes, we love it. So this ends our, oh my God, sixth episode. Thank you guys for watching. As usual, follow us on social media at them 90s teachers. We have a growing community. We're almost at over 300 now, right?
Yes, we're over 300 on Instagram. We're so excited because honestly, we wouldn't be here without you guys and just the constant support of even you just listening or resharing our page or even following and keeping up with us. We love what we do. We're going to keep loving what we do, and we can't hope to grow and reach out to all different teachers and allow them to have this space to be their safe space as well.
Yes, exactly. So you guys make sure, even follow us on Spotify. I think we have about 42 followers on Spotify, which is y'all, that's
Celebrate it.
amazing. That's amazing. 40, we have like our plays are growing, our audience is growing, our followers are growing on there too. So make sure you guys follow us on Spotify or subscribe on Apple Podcasts so that you will always know episode every Sunday afternoon or morning, depending on when it's posted. But we're working on the consistent daily schedule, okay, weekly schedule. So guys have that. Follow us on Instagram. My Instagram is at Tayjenay, Tayjenay.
And
And
mine is Wanderous Soul, MISSWONDRUSOUL.
you can get to know more about us on our pages. We're pretty much share a lot of our, our personalities and things on our specific Instagrams. So make sure you guys go follow that. And yeah, join. And we're gonna start doing like these weekly lives every so often.
Yeah.
So make sure that you guys join those also.
Yes, stay tuned because we're going to be catching up with you guys because now we have a couple of episodes out. So it's going to be fun to actually come and chat with all of you who've been listening and to like talk about it, dissect the episodes in more depth and to answer your questions. We're excited.
We are so excited. Anything else you want to add, Zara, before we go?
No, we're good. I feel like thank you. And if you ever want to know more about us or you want to keep them 90s teachers, you can also just hashtag them 90s teachers. If you have questions, whether it's on Twitter or threads, wherever you see fit, whether it's on TikTok or Instagram, we are going to be checking that hashtag. So if you ever have questions or maybe you want to share videos or news articles with us for hot topics, we'd greatly appreciate that too.
We would. Awesome. So can't wait to see you guys next week for a fresh episode.